fun little thing we like to do with our horses. They go through the program here. I do this from the beginning, whether it's with a flag or a bag. It's a little easy to exaggerate it with this. He hasn't had this done with him very much, just here a couple days. And we want him to get used to it, but we also want him to think towards it. I want to use it as a tool of, like, generally speaking, a lot of these horses that are raised outside and don't get messed with a lot till they're either 2 or 3. A sack like this, you come after them with it, they'll kind of skitter off and be a little afraid, and a lot of horses will. So I use it as not so much a tool for them to just get used to, but for them to start learning that the things that scare them, they can kind of think through and draw to. And in the horse's brain, there's a pretty big difference between just getting desensitized to where they're kind of checking out and just taking it versus interacting with it and kind of controlling that situation. I'm looking to give them that power and start to build it with a small thing, just like a tarp or something. Because later when you're riding, you want them to draw to the things that would scare them. And sometimes those things are unavoidable. So you want to have your horse confident enough to where instead of feeling like he has to check out and leave, he can hook up to those things and get some relief. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to walk up to my horse, and I won't be real bashful about it. You can see he's already trying his best to hook to it. But see, right there, he was like, I can't quite handle that. So he had to leave. So now we'll just work at it a little bit. And so he was trying awful hard to hook up to it, so I'm going to let him here. But if your horse is leaving, and we'll see if he might be a bad example. He might not give me a very good chance to work at it. But if your horse is leaving, you'll go with the bag in a way that they start to look you up. You don't want to do so much that they just check out and bail out of there. And even something just as this, like I'd head over here, he feels like he has to go. He's still watching me, but he's not hooked up. I might move my tarp like this until he starts to draw to it. And then I'll work my way in there. I'll just kind of ease up here and see. He's going to be a bad example today. He's doing too good. But when I walk up there, I'm looking at my horse and I'm really watching their face because I want to see, when I walk up with the tarp, I want to see, is he bracing? Is he thinking about leaving? Or is he opening himself up and coming to me? And like, I'm sure you'll see a spot or two here where he braces when I come up with the tarp. But when I walk up to my horse, I'm really watching that. Like, that part's really important, is that when I walk up to them, they're coming to me. Because then when I go to catch them in the pasture or around other horses, even if the other ones are jacking around, I can go catch my horse because they're coming to me. They understand that when I'm there, look to me and I'll help you out with things and make your life pretty easy. So let's check this side. Here he's hooked. I'm going to kind of challenge him. There. He didn't leave, but if you watch that on the video, there'd be a spot where he kind of stood still and he looked away from it just a little bit. These things, if we spend some time trying to understand them, it'll save us a lot of trouble if you work a lot of horses, because being able to see when that horse mentally braces and then mentally comes through is really, really important. And so since he had that on this spot, I'll come work it a couple times. See there? He's taking it. Now he's thinking through it. I'll come ease back this way. I'll see if I can rub him with it. And right now he's pretty, like, he's taking it, but he's just kind of taking it. So I'm just going to stay here until he does a little breathing. And he thinks about coming to me. And when he does, like right in there, I'll leave and I'll kind of drag this bag and I'll cut me an angle and I'll leave him and then I'll reapproach. So I'll come to his hip to give him the chance to run around here, you see. I'm not going to just keep cutting him off and make him come to me. I'll do things like walk towards his tail with this bag and see if he'll come around and help me. Now, another thing you have to watch for is sometimes on a particular kind of horse, and a more confident horse that's more liable to defend himself, will a lot of times square up with something simply because he has more exits when he does that. So you want to make sure that you're not going around here and your horse isn't just spinning around blocking you. See how he's coming around? He's not blocking me. Like, I think if I wanted to, I could take this tarp on this side and come around his tail and have him come out this side, you see? If you had a horse that was staying squared up with you to block you, you'd try to go around his tail and he'd swing his hip into you. If that makes sense. Like, you'd go to come over here and he'd be swinging around, and at the point that you went to come across here, he would push this way and bail and probably kick you or something, not come through. So if you have that horse, you don't have to visualize it because you can see it, but if you're working with a horse and having that happen, a lot of times that's the case. I've even seen it with some folks saddling horses. In fact, there was a guy that I helped in Canada that he had been riding this horse for a long time and was saddling it and saddling it. He was working his butt off at trying to get it gentle and all these things, and he did get it gentle in a lot of ways, but every time he saddled this dang horse, it would buck. Every single time, no matter how many times he saddled it. And I got to watching and seeing when this feller would go up there, a lot of times when we fixed it, he saddled the horse with nothing on his head. Our young horses, that's how I like to do, because if they need to leave, I'll help them with that and teach them to stay. I don't need to have a lead rope to make them to stay, because we're making these horses for other people. So they need to understand when we're saddling, they got to stand there. But what I was able to show this guy was just what I'm showing you, except with a saddle. I had him start it with this so he didn't have to carry his saddle around. But what would happen was, when this feller would walk up here, this horse wouldn't look away like that. He would square up like I was telling you about, and he would come in here, and whenever this guy would come with his saddle, this horse would kind of start wheeling around. But this guy was handy enough, he'd do the old, the old clinician freaking horse tamer thing, and he would block him, or he'd block him with his elbow, or block him with his lead rope. And what that horse was trying to say is, I'm not so sure about that. And that feller was saying, I'm handy enough, I'll help you with this, you can make it through there. He was getting it done. Yeah, he got it done for a long time, but the issue was still there. As soon as we got him to realize that that was actually a thing, that the horse was looking for some help when he was here, that he wasn't able to come through or let him come over here. If he did this, this horse would just spin and spin and spin and spin, right? As soon as we got to where he could walk up to this horse, and this horse would actually yield and come through here to him, not like, we'll see what mine will do here. Like, actually come through here and not boogie out of there, and then not block him. So see, now I'm in front of the horse. Now I'm along the side of the horse, and he's not blocking. He braced a little bit and kind of shored himself up, but he's not moving in a way to only keep me in two eyes, right? And as soon as we cleared that up, from that point on, he was able to saddle that horse, and it never bucked anymore. And it was the mental deal. The guy was way capable of training a horse and teaching him all the things, but that mental deal with the horse was missed. And on a particular kind of horse, they'll make you pay for that. Like, it'll be one of those things to where they get tied every morning. On a lot of horses, they're bred so good anymore, and they're so good-minded that that's not the case. You can do whatever you got to do to them, and they'll pretty much just take it, and you can ride them checked out, and they'll go along with it because they're just such good horses. But for those people who are wanting to study this and have some understanding, and especially if you're trying to set horses up for customers and other people, like, we got to get them to where they can get around them and they can ride them and they're safe for those other people. They're not just safe for a horse trainer. So that is something that helped me a lot. Like, I had some horses that were fairly snorty, and I'd got because they didn't work other places, and that spot was in every single one of them. And a lot of times when I help somebody with a horse like that, I just don't know why he's bucking, or I don't know why he's doing this. Yes, the horse can be fresh in those things, but if the horse is blocking you from the time you're saddling him or when you're moving around, as we progress and we ride and we do those other things, it's only going to get more stressful, and it's only going to take more skill to get through. And it's good to have the skill in those things, but at the same time, if I'm riding a prey animal around and we know they're kind of inherently scared of some things, I want that horse to fill in and help me, especially out here where you might have to fight a cow with 100 inches of horn with a pitchfork, and I need my horse to run to it so we don't get hurt. Because if he runs away from it, we're going to get poked and it's not going to go good for either of us. You know, or any number of things that we're doing, whether something busts out of the brush or any of that kind of stuff, I need my horse to be there for me because I may not be paying attention, somebody else may be riding him, all those things. I want him to understand how to deal with those stressful situations. And for me, this right here is like the cheapest, easiest way to get it started. You get this idea in their head to where they understand when I come up here with something scary, whoops, I dropped it. When I come up here with something scary, I'm getting pretty radical with this carp here. As soon as you start shaping up to where you can address that, it's going to go away. And gradually, that'll get to where they can handle more and more and more. Like, this horse has had a little of this. This is something I'm going to check in, not every day, but more days than not, until I pick it up and there's no resistance. He really isn't that far away. Like, he's getting the concept, but there's still more to do. So here, I'm going to come in this way and check this out, and then I'm just going to see, can I throw this up there? See, right now he's staying, but he's not a big fan. So here I found this something to work at. There's a good change, so I'll kind of ease up out of here, right? There, that's what I'm looking for. See how he's kind of hooking himself to that, and he's like, okay, all right, if I follow the crazy guy around and kind of lean into this, pretty soon he'll quit jacking around. And he's like, I like when he's being quiet more than when he's moving around. So I'll go again. Let's see if we can't get this spot here in a period of time. See, like right there, he's trying to stay, but he is obviously backing away. So I'm just going to keep this going, and if he has to leave, he has to leave. But if I get to a spot where I see him kind of relax and get a little more confident with this, see, we're not there yet. He's got to leave. He's trying to stay. I'm going to pause here for a second. I'm going to work my way in. That's better. See, that time I kind of come in that zone and he was able to stay the whole time and never get to where he thought about leaving that time. So I'll take all the pressure off. I'm going to cut me a circle and I'm going to come back around from the other side. There. See how he's reaching his little nose down there to it? There he's kind of blocking it a little bit, but I'd like to get him to where, there you go. Now we'll see if I can't come in here and have him do the same thing. Because you get that kind of way up there and that worries me a little. Right here he's trying, but he's still doing, oh, here we're making some progress. Here he's engaged. You see, he's engaged in it. I'm challenging him now. He's engaged, but he wasn't relaxed there. And so since I need a video to try and show you something, I'm going to hang in here and see right here, he's present. There. He was able to come through to that. And see there, he'll get to working his mouth and things like that. But what I was looking for was I started to understand where he was in his comfort, right? And I was looking to see, can I get that just a little better? Can I ease in here to the spot where just a minute ago you were having to leave and have you draw to it? Not just stand there like a statue and take it, but be present, interact with me, draw to it, and realize that as soon as you do that, it goes away. And if you do that with your horses, man, it does not take very long. And even on a snorty one, before they start walking around with their chest out and whatever used to scare them, they'll just go right up to it and be like, what? What? Like, that's the kind of horse I want to ride. Because if something comes up, I want my horse to run to it, not away from it. But we all choose to live our lives a little different, and some folks might not like that. There's my change. Let's see. That's what I'm looking for right there. So before, albeit he wasn't being a bronc and running away from here, that was causing him to leave. Now, it's causing him to connect. So, for me, he is at least 1% better, if not a couple percent better than he was when I started. I'm gonna check this other side, and then we're gonna be done with that. And maybe I'll get another horse too, because this horse was such a good participant. Maybe I'll get another horse so everybody always says, well, do it with a horse that doesn't know that. Well, they start off not knowing it, but by the end, they know it. That's the goal. So I'll try and get another horse that might give more exaggerated examples of what we have to do. So see right here? He says, I gotta leave. He's still thinking about me, but he's like, man, I can't stay there for that. There's starting to be a little change. There you go. And we'll start again. And I'll show you something cool too. In the beginning, when you're doing this, if you don't want to flail that tarp around, you can just hold it like this, right? And when my horse thinks about going, I'll just kind of rub it together. And I'll do that because it takes a lot less energy to run around like a crazy person and do this to get it started in the beginning. And on some horses, when you're learning this, you might have to work at this for quite a while before you start to get them hooked to it. And then once you get them hooking to it, remember we want them to yield to it, not just want to steamroll us over with it either, right? Like we want to be able to come here. See, there's a little brace, right? So I'm just going to rub him until he draws. Okay, there's the draw. But then we want the horse to yield to it too. We don't like, yes, I want my horse to come to this, but I don't want to get him rude about it. He'll know the difference between come here and go away and come here, you see? So that part's real important, because on a certain type of horse, if you get them just coming to it and you miss the part about yielding, you could cause a problem. But that's a very specific type of horse that would do that. But anyway, let's check this spot here one more time. Oh, that's better. He braced, but he was able to stay. There he's thinking about me. I like all that. That's a good spot with this horse. But I hope that helps give you some ideas of how you can set things up to get your horse more confident. And this seems like a small thing. It is a small thing, but if you develop it, I mean, it can help you with anything. Hooking to a cow, hooking to a scary situation, hooking up to a polo ball, like whatever you're doing, this can start to teach that horse that focus and that like target acquisition. And for me, and the few things I like to do, it helps a lot. So, and even if you're just out on the trail and you have a horse that looks at rocks like there's somebody hiding behind them, these little things will help give them that confidence to, instead of brace and think about leaving, they might even brace, but then they'll turn loose and they'll draw to what's scaring them. And if we can do that, we can have a lot happier horses and have a lot more fun and be a little safer when we're doing it. So these are some of the things that we do with our horses here. Like this is a 3-year-old who does not have a ton of work on them, but they're really starting to get worked now and doing chores and bringing horses in and roping and things like that. But these fundamentals are the important part, because this is what helps them go be successful wherever they're going. So keep that in mind when you're looking for horses. Make sure you're set up to succeed. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them below.